Well, it's very hard to come up with a unique monster. A lot of them are just plays on a trope. But in the Hollower, in particular, there's the horror seems to be the emptiness, the void, the possibility of being emptied out and robbed of your identity on an existential level, and all these things that underplay the overarching story. How did that? How did you get your head around that monster and idea and story, either before or as you were penning it, and then how did you kind of make emptiness into a monster that could interact in a story like that?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned like that, so many monsters are tropes of things. And uh, my dad used to be my first reader. Anything I wrote, my dad read it first. And when I was trying to start a novel, I'd come up with these ideas and be like, you know what, that sounds like Star Wars. You
Right,
know what
right.
that sounds like, and he would, it almost got to be a joke after a while that he would pinpoint that I was covering the same ground as something else. And so finally I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to make a monster that is completely uniquely alien. It's going to be something that whatever my gut instinct tells me that I should do, I'm going to do it the opposite and weirder. And that's basically, I think, the impetus for developing the Hollower the way it is, the way the creature is that I wanted something that um, would be completely, not just completely alien to us, but that we would be so completely alien to it that there would be no capacity for sympathy or empathy in any way. That essentially anything that it mimics that's even close to humanity is something that it only understands in terms of using against us to feed off of us. That even the physicality of our bodies, of our senses, and really, our perception of the world is physical. It's how we see it, what we hear, what we feel, what we taste and smell and touch. It's all physical sensation that our brain processes and gives meaning to. And I wanted this thing to not understand that except when it was close enough to us to be able to mimic that for the purpose of hunting us. It's basically uh, a kind of mimic, I
Right.
guess. But at its heart, to me, and cosmic horror generally doesn't, I should say Lovecraftian horror generally doesn't dive too deeply into the mindset of the monster,
Right.
because the whole point for him, for Lovecraft, was that a monster is, well, what is most terrifying to us is fear of the unknown, and that something like, one of his pantheon of gods would be something so different from us and so alien to us and so far above us in size and scope that we really couldn't understand it any better than we could understand the motivations of God.
Right.
It's something that is um, too far beyond our capacity for understanding. And I get that. I like that because I understand that there is something terrifying about something that isn't going to be um, able to, even capable of caring about our feelings about anything. It'd be like us trying to understand the motivations of ants.
Right.
And but so that's why I think I wanted the Hollower to be something so foreign and so alien. And but then I thought too, partially because it was my first novel and I wasn't sure I'd be able to make a word count
Yeah.
without doing this, but also because I thought it would be interesting to write about what how the Hollowers see us, because I think there's something sort of terrifying about the idea that um, here we see this monster and it's mimicking people and it's teasing people and it's goading them into hurting themselves, it's goading them into hurting other people, and it seems to understand us on such a deep dark level. And and to use our own fears against us. It uses the deepest parts of us against us, against us to ruin us. And what it's really made of, like you said, is emptiness. It comes from a place of pure chaos and pure atrophy, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
or entropy. I mean, it's basically comes from a place that is destroying itself.
Right.
And its primary organ, its mode of functioning, is like a black hole. So it's always hungry, it's always miserable, it's always feeling chaotic, it's always feeling empty. And all those things that we attribute that, maybe make it scary because we think, oh God, it knows our deepest, darkest secrets. Like, it forgets them the minute it gets far enough away from us. When it pulls back into the in between spaces or other dimensions, it forgets even the words for things. It doesn't, we don't matter. We don't matter as anything other than a food source. And once it runs through the people on this planet, anything even remotely sentient, it moves on to another place. So I think that was, once I got into it, and for anybody who's read the three books, I think you see a sort of a progression of how the Hollowers think of us over
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And like the first Hollower in the first book is completely dumbfounded by us, like completely like, oh, it doesn't understand even things like a house or a car. It just understands that this is what this thing does. Like, this thing swallows the people and takes them away. And over time, the different species of Hollowers and different types of Hollowers can understand us a little bit better. But it's still it's a means to an end.
Right.
It will never understand us, and it will never care to. It will never try to.